take a moment. We're now in a lot of company. And so it's really wonderful to find our place together and our sounding of the note. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is how I sound it, but there's a light inside. And I'm actually going to be a little more protective of you and kind of wrap my wings around you a little bit more, because it's a very, very big world. Hey, everybody out there, we feel you, and we are creating a space where we can speak within the circle of some wings. And anybody is welcome to join us. It's like, you know, those blanket forts that maybe you made when you were a little kid? You'd like knock over some chairs and you'd hang some blankets. And then once you were in the blanket fort, it was actually special. Like nobody has fights inside of the blanket fort. You go outside to do that. If you got like inside the blanket fort, it's actually special in a way. And so we're having a little blanket fort conversation about whole heart connection and what it means to us and what we'd like to say about it from inside this blanket fort. And anybody who wants to come into the blanket fort is welcome to come into the blanket fort. Yes, exactly. And just knowing this is a blanket fort. It's not a sports guy. You know, there's many things that it's not. It's a little sacred blanket fort for all of the children who want to, or adults who want to come into the blanket fort. When an adult comes into a blanket fort, it's a very special adult. So I think we qualify. And I think those with us also qualify. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. So I'm Mariam Thea Elijah. People probably know that. This is Anya Parker Lentz, who knows a lot more about social media than I do. So she's a boon companion here, and who has taken a whole heart connection intro with me and has some friends who she thinks might be interested in it. And I don't know about you, I look forward to hearing what you would say about it. I have a really hard time describing to my friends or anyone, what do you learn at a whole heart connection intro? And why would you want to go to it? And so that's why I'm doing this blanket fort consult together, so that we can be like, gosh, what did we learn? Why was that something that I would want to invite my friends to and kind of feel it out? Yeah.
I had a friend who didn't go, and one thing that she said to me, which like kind of just struck a note in me, was that she's done talk therapy for a long time and has had sort of many healings in sort of traditional Western senses. And she said to me that she had never before like felt her entire childhood sort of like unravel in a healing way. Like she could talk about it, and it was very cognitive and very surface level, and maybe rewriting something somewhere kind of, but without talking about her childhood at all. She was like, Anya, I just saw through space and time, which is probably why it's so hard to talk about, because it sounds like magic.
Right? Yeah. It is true. Are you about to go on?
No. I have so many thoughts about it.
Yeah. It is true that I think of myself as a remedial nursery school teacher, and I think of whole heart connection as being that which wasn't included in this culture of what it is to be sovereign and whole, and to face love or disaster from a sovereign and whole place with our birthright and heritage of resources, which are very, very large statements, but they come down to very, very simple things that we remind each other of, not cognitively, but actually practicing together. Like, for instance, being grounded. What you who are with us in the blanket fort don't know is that right before we began, I said, Anya, help me ground. I'm not feeling grounded. And she went ahead. She's doing it again right now. She just went ahead and went and felt her own birthright connection that every single human being has to belong to this earth, irregardless of what any human being might think that they have to say about it. So even if your parents, even if you were not a wanted child, that actually has nothing to do with it. There's so much that like we take on from humans that obscures that it wasn't up to them, obviously. That you are here and that you are part of this ecology, that you have a place. And there's a very different feeling in a person's body when they move past the culture of their upbringing. I'm going to tell a little Sufi story. I heard it from a book by Martin Lings about these little trees at a nursery in pots. There's like a whole row of trees in pots, but some of them were huge. Some of them was just a normal size, and some of them were these big, majestic trees, like, whoa. And on closer look at why are some of these trees so flourishing and majestic and others just like, hi, I'm here, I'm okay, is because the ones that were in weak pots, that were broken, it allowed the roots of the tree to go through into the ground where they had a source of nutrient that was so vast, so wide, that they could grow and flourish in a way that the nice little trees in the confines of their little parental unity culture, like, hi, I'm here. They were fine. I'm fine. But it was nothing like the ones who were able to go beyond mother to the real mother, the earth, and not stop with, I mean, I'm sure everybody's mother, like, they did their best. And we can honor them. And this is not a dishonoring. It's thanks for the little pot. Now I'm in the ground. And the same thing with the father. Like, thanks for thanks for the attempted protection, but now I've busted through the ceiling. And the sky is my ceiling. So yeah, there's a lot of childhood rewriting, not by thinking about it, but by finding and having the opportunity to be coached and held in this place of rooting in some place that's deeper than our parents and deeper than our culture. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I wonder if people who watch this or anyone is wondering is the online aspect of it, which when I took my whole heart connection intro, which I only took one, so I'm doing, but one thing that I thought was I kind of am looking around because the first time that you asked us to like look at our room, I think I would love at some point to do it in person, but I found so much. I saw my room in a whole different way, and I saw the furniture in my house and my plants and the mustard in my refrigerator like as family.
Yes.
And in a way that like is just endlessly comforting. And of course your bed is your bed and you're comfortable in your bed, but it's different than that. And I think that it's almost like a gift that we get to do this online because we have. So I wonder if you might speak to that. I know I'm gushing a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you're gushing very well. You're transmitting. You're doing more than gushing, you're actually transmitting. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a very different opportunity to be doing this online. There's a lot of things I love about doing it in person, mainly the breaks. Like on a break, it's very like you have, I always can tell how the class is going by how people are during the breaks. And people form lifelong bonds while waiting for the bathroom. It's just really incredible. But there is a little bit more of a sense of magic carpet ride when it's in person, because it's not taking place in your home, your own personal ground zero. And it is, in fact, very powerful to be doing practices around making ourselves at home, because this is the essence of it, in the place we've been calling our home, but possibly never really fully took it up on that offer. It's one of the main reworkings that happens in whole heart connection, is the beginning of realizing that we may not have been making ourselves at home. And this may be an ancestral issue. I mean, as an Eastern European Ashkenazi Jew, when was the last time someone in my lineage made themselves at home? And we are the people of the generation that is alive. We are the ones in the position of capacity to pivot. And so as we learn how to befriend our ecosystem and feel the exchange with it, and start to feel like our back muscles and our nerves start to commune, to just kind of background commune and be held where we are. It's amazing how many physiological processes begin that were on hold, like not at home, not at home, not at home, not at home for centuries. And then, oh, yeah. It's very profound for our personal healing to start bonding with our environment, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I admit that I'm not doing it just for the sake of personal healing, though I love personal healing. I'm also doing it in order to shift Kwelunat culture. A Kwelunat is a non-Indigenous person.
Okay.
There's a website called White Awake about unlearning white supremacy culture. And there's an article about something called Kwelunology, which is the study of non-Indigenous cultures. Because, you know, people study Indigenous cultures and there's certain commonalities. And this is the study of non-Indigenous cultures, otherwise known as people living all the time, not feeling at home. Because they're refugees or colonists or immigrants and kind of haven't, or conquerors, and kind of haven't really settled into the ecology as friends with that tree, and friends with that river, and friends with that antelope or friends with, but it starts with, do our bodies remember what it feels like to be friends with our closet and friends with our table, and to pick up our friend the fork and just nestle in to life in our ecosystem. And it's been shown in qualinology studies that people who feel at home and nested in ecology are way less likely to trash the planet or each other. I feel very, very strongly that whole heart connection is simultaneously a personal healing and a cultural healing practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I know that we only control 50%. We are us, in a conversation with someone else. We can help them. And I think one thing that I think about a lot is like, how can I bring this into every day of my life? And even if they don't know what they're doing or what I'm doing, that they'll feel it. And
yeah, how's that going?
I think it's going really well. I think I'm a vulnerable, not vulnerable person, if that makes sense. I love sharing things about myself. I'm always willing to kind of like talk about my story. But there's definitely things that I'm like, there's a box that I just, nobody gets to see it. And I can tell them all the stuff that I think is cool about me. That's my past and my stories. And I don't really want to share that.
I'm feeling you're a receptionist.
Yeah.
Like this is the,
here's me. Here's Anya.
Right. It isn't intimacy. Yeah. Thank you for coming back.
And I think that's been dislodged a little bit more.
Yeah.
Every time.
I think the ability to talk about things and share them in words is not nearly as important as the ability to just kind of be there.
Yeah.
And let ourselves be seen by those who have the eyes to see. Like if we're in heart space, there's a quality of nakedness to it, but only if the other one's also naked, Yeah. It reminds me a lot of when I went to a Sufi healing university. I wanted to go because I wanted to have Jedi powers. That's what interested me. And when I got there, they said, yes, but you can only see in somebody else what you can have compassion for, starting with having compassion for it in yourself. And I was like, darn it, I have to learn compassion to have Jedi powers, to have all these insights and be able to see what's happening in the energy. And like, yes. And I think there's something about that's one of the underpinnings of what happens in a whole heart connection, heart spaces. We come into a place of compassion, kind of slip in unintentionally with a kind of humility of like, hi, this is what I have. And it's neither great nor small. It's just, this is it. Hello. And there's a connection. Again, it's like, it's naked, but not one-sidedly naked. And it doesn't feel dangerous.
Not at all.
Because we're in the blanket for it. And it's a place that you can't come into with, like, if you have a lot of, weapons and sarcasm and all that stuff, you just won't even find it. So we get to walk around in broad daylight offering this, and some people take us up on it, and some will take us up on it later, maybe.
I hope that everyone can and does find it eventually.
Yeah. It's an odd sort of class in that there's really not that much lecture type of thing. It's mostly what I call sounding the note, or feeling for, if my body were a musical instrument, where are all the strings? How do I play the groundedness song? How do I play the breathing sky into myself song? How do I play the back body and all the invisible influences song? How do I find my heart? What is a heart? And how do I play the unclench the heart song ever so gently? Yeah, I'm feeling Anya with me there. This is a thing that started around the pandemic, is that these days nobody can bear to open their heart to themselves unless they're also opening the back of their heart and saying, I want to receive from that big infinite source. I need it. There's a profound neediness that is afoot in our world that I think is an incredible opportunity, because I think before the neediness was more buried and people didn't know it, they were able to distract from it more fully. They had more like things. And now it's much more stark. It's like, wow, I need something that may not be of this world. How do I get in touch with, I don't know what you want to call it. People call it different things. I call it the big heart or source. If you're a physicist, you could call it the electromagnetic hologram. Some people call it the divine. Yeah, exactly. Sounding the note of heart from the place that is incredibly needy, but like a child actually finding the breast, so that you get to be ridiculously needy. We get to be ridiculously needy, and having that clarify what it is that we really need. Think this is too heavy to be talking to people about who've never taken an intro?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We
It's very, I never want to say, come to a whole heart connection intro. First, you'll get comfortable and then you'll get to know God, but in your own way, in your own, because atheists are welcome too. And they find the deep love and the connection and what we call the flock heart. Also, this is a human thing. Yeah.
We need a Google Translate for in everyone's different way of
yeah, exactly. What do you think makes birds flock up, and what do you think makes it so that there's magic between people? And
I love that. I don't remember when we talked about that, but the birds moving in the same direction blows my mind. I love it.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Yeah, and we can think of that in terms of electromagnetic entrainment, and the science of it really works out. There's a marvelous book called The Secret Teachings of Plants by Stephen Harrod Buhner. He's all about plants. Listen, I love plants. Many of my best friends are plants, but the whole book applies to humans as well, and how the heart entrains, how electromagnetic fields find each other and sound the note. Yeah.
I'll remember to put all your references in the caption after.
Oh, it's a really incredible book. I thought it was absolutely life-changing. It basically gave science behind whole heart connection. The two places that put science behind whole heart connection is Stephen Harrod Buhner's book, The Secret Teachings of Plants, and any of Stephen Porges's book on polyvagal theory. I have apparently a great affinity for people named Stephen. That has been proven out in my life, as a matter of fact. Yeah. What I love about whole heart connection practices is exactly what you were saying, is that we start to come into an ease that's easily transferable. I came into this a little rattled up, and I still have many poignant things happening inside of me in my life. And I know that you have many poignant things happening inside of you in your life. And I love how it's not a performance art. It's a coming home art. And we get to have some kind of like an ineffable comfort, even in the midst of all of this. And we are offering it to each other on a me first basis. So there's no burnout. Yeah. Can you think of anything else that we ought to tell folks about the Whole Heart Connection intro? It's on May 7th and 8th.
May 7th and 8th. I wonder if you want to speak a bit to who it might be for. My answer is everyone, but
it's for people who are sincere or who wish that they felt safe and comfortable being sincere. You don't have to already be sincere, but you might be feeling like, I really wish that honesty was the best policy and that showing up and being real was a good idea. I really wish that. You don't have to be there yet, because it definitely contains a myriad of resources for being able to come from that place of authenticity and connection, from a safe space and from a grounded space and from I would say from a holy place. So you don't have to use that word. It's really not for people who are not interested in being sincere. If that, and not everybody is, and there's sometimes very good reasons for that. It's just like, I'm not going there right now. It's not going to happen right now. I'm not interested in relating and connecting or healing. Like sometimes it's just not your time to heal. Fine. Or not your time to be real. Fine. But if you wish that you could be yourself, this is a place to learn tools to be able to assess the fear and get a sense of, am I just scared, or is actually this a great idea, a great time to run, or is that just a shaking inside of me? And a place to learn skills for slowly, incrementally, ever so gently addressing the parts of us that are so painful that if we thought about it, we would not get up in the morning. I love about this that it's not like this cathartic bleed all over the rug kind of healing. It's, how do I set up a drip line? Just a little, so that I'm okay and progressively more okay. And can even set that up for others. You're like, hey, here I am, a cup that runneth over, drip by drip. Join me. Yeah. So if you're wanting to be real, if you're wanting to be authentic, if you're wanting connection, and you're just not sure you grew up in a culture or household that actually prepared you for that, this is great. Remedial nursery school. Yeah.
That's the rebrand, Remedial Nursery School. We just start calling it that.
Right. I also will mention though, and I'm mentioning this to you as a person who's taken it once, the first time you take it, often people are just the whole time are like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my
Yeah.
God, oh my God, because you just see and hear things like it. Your whole childhood is like, whoa, it's like it's all different now somehow. It's really worth taking it at least one more time. I mean, I have students who have taken it more than a dozen times, and it goes in deeper and deeper. But to take it at least twice is a really good idea. People don't learn it as well in one shot. The second time you do it, it's like, oh yeah. It's like the first time is a primer coat.
Yeah.
The second time is like, okay, okay.
So when I take my next one, we have to do another one of these, and I'll see what I look like both times.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like it. I think a new person or a returning person might be satisfied with everything we talked about today.
And I'll also mention no two intros are exactly the same. I mean, there's some basic skill sets, but the birds come in separately and then we form a flock, and there's a unique exchange and a unique, almost like a silent theme song that we're all part of and that we're nourished by. So if you're coming, you are part of what happens in a very real way. Even if you don't say that much, your flavor comes into it. That's my favorite thing about it, really.
Yeah. Thank you for having me today here.
Oh, thank you for being my friend in the blanket fort. Yeah,
I've liked it a lot.
yeah. And thank all of you who have joined us. And I'm starting to feel like that feeling of the future people. It's like it's not really separate. Like oh, the blessing of the dear ones who are gathering later. Thank you for coming to this gathering. I hope you come to the Whole Heart Connection gathering May 7th and 8th. All right. See you around. Feel you around.